Greetings, good people. What's up? What's happening? Dr. Clarence back again. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. What happened? For December, the year is 2025. Me hope you are having good time wherever you're watching us from. We're seeing the man on the forefront, ladies and gentlemen, in Africa. We're talking about Donald Trump. Yes, sir. What did him do, ladies and gentlemen? Donald Trump does something for Africa that all the guys who did fought in the liberation struggle combined, they haven't achieved something like that.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with President Kagame. We have had tremendous discussions on Rwanda. The job they've done is absolutely terrific. We have trade with Rwanda and just general, I would say, great relationships. I want to congratulate you, Mr. President, as being the new head of the African Union. That's a great honor. This was just announced recently, and that really truly is a great honor. So please give my regards. I know you're going to your first meeting very shortly, and please give my warmest regards. But it's an honor to have you as a friend. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, it was a great honor to meet the President of the United States, President Donald Trump, and we had good discussions on those two levels. The bilateral relations between Rwanda and the United States. Rwanda has benefited tremendously from the support of the United States in many areas where it is in peace support operations we have carried out in different parts of the world. We had the United States on our side supporting us. We have supported our economy in trade, investment. We see a lot of tourists from the United States, visitors coming to Rwanda, and President, I wanted to thank you for the support.
Ladies and gentlemen, this video is from 2018. We see a first interaction where we're seeing Donald Trump and Paul Kagame of Rwanda. Now today, the 4th of December, ladies and gentlemen, welcome here on TV7 Live. As we are the only show that explains African geopolitics while still drunk from last night. Tonight, yesterday night, we see Donald Trump is being talked about all over news. We see Kenya's President William Ruto already in the United States for the engagement. And yes, today Trump is dragging the presidents of Congo and Rwanda to the White House like it's a Vegas wedding chapel, and he is Elvis officiant. Donald Trump is ending a 30-year war in Congo that nobody else could fix. Will there be peace, ladies and gentlemen? Will there be cobalt? Will there be diamonds? I think we finished all the diamonds. No. How do you solve a war that killed more people than World War I? Enter Donald Trump. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine what we do. We wait. How many years? SADC fails. The UN sleeping 25 plus years. And then, who do we call? No, we don't call so, but I call so. Actually, it is Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen. So, let us just go through some historical facts on this to know what is happening, ladies and gentlemen. The Congo War is a war we see at one time bankrupting Zimbabwe at the same time with the War veterans compensations. All right, let's read this so fast so that I don't fall asleep. 1994, the Rwandan genocide. Bad guys flee into Congo. It's still called Zaire back then. That is the very 90s. We see the Hutus and the Tutsis murdering each other. Yes, sir. The exact story we see in the movie Hotel Rwanda. In the year 1996, we see the first Congo War. Rwanda and Uganda roll in, kick out dictator Mobutu Sese Seko. He had a leopard head, and that is very iconic. In the year 1998, Second Congo War. Now 9 countries are fighting. They are calling it Africa's World War. That is where we see Zimbabwean helicopters going there every day. That is where we see the military being taken there. We see our Zim dollar now losing its power. We hear of diamond mines in DRC over in DRC. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, that is before in Zimbabwe we would be hearing of the missing 15 billion. That missing 15 billion maybe was just rhetoric. Now, casualties that are announced in 1998, ladies and gentlemen, 6 million, like they surpass King George the Sixth figures. That is Syria, Yemen, Ukraine, and Iran combined, multiplied by 2. 2003 peace deal is on paper. And in reality, 120 armed groups are running around the East like it's Mad Max on iPhones. Fast forward to the year 2025, we see SADC peacekeepers who would perish over in the DRC. We see SADC, the guys, they just go over there in nearby Rwanda there, and they just sit for some SADC meetings. They resolve nothing, ladies and gentlemen. What have they resolved? We're talking of liberation movements who haven't even delivered just the freedom of freedom in any nation. Now 2025 M23 rebels. Basically, Rwanda is not a so secret proxy. They take over Goma in January. They take it over like it is Uber Oats or Uber Eats. That is the same time we see a plane crash of Malawian deputy president. So I did a video on that one. Is it the plane which he left on would have shown in Goma in DRC around that same time, then disappear from Goma? Can you pass what happened? Here the body. Now, following the Goma takeover, the result is 21 million people need food aid, and your Tesla battery still comes from child labor. They are just joking. Now, Africa tries to fix this ourselves and enter SADC, Southern Africa Development Community. Think of a NATO, but a NATO that is broke and just dramatic. 2023, Congo begs for help. SADC says bet and sends 5,000 troops. Reality, they got absolutely cooked by Rwandan drones. Lost 2 major cities. Week 19. In weeks, 19 soldiers are dead, but the rest hiding in bases, playing Candy Crush. The budget needed 500 million. Budget received 7 million in a WhatsApp, and a WhatsApp good luck from the Africa Union. Tanzania would bounce off early. South Africa would pay for everything, like the rich friend on vacation. And in March 2025, they all just left. SADC final report card F- would not recommend. Congratulations, guys. You made the United Nations look competent. Now, that's hard. Enter Donald Trump. The art of the deal. Donald Trump goes, I know wars. Nobody ends wars like me. Tremendous wars. January 2025. Trump back in office looks at Congo. He smells the cobalt and he says, these guys are playing, it's a loss. He sends Masad Bulosa, yes, Jed Kashner's father-in-law, to play therapist between Congo and Rwanda. June 27, first deal we signed at the White House. Trump literally says on camera, we're getting a lot of the mineral rights from the Congo. As part of it, Africans do not be shocked by this one. Trump is speaking to his people. Those guys, they are not looters. They create jobs. They create infrastructures. We are nations who were once under certain nations as their colonies. We haven't been able to sustain the lifestyles which they left us, or the standards. We haven't been able to maintain anything. When we were able to imitate 1% of what they did, we clap our hands for ourselves. We celebrate for 15 years. Now, Trump is bringing peace and getting a coupon for 70% of the world's cobalt. Who buys these minerals? July, Qatar, yes, Qatar jumps in because rich uncles fix everything. So today is gonna be a big signing ceremony where we're seeing Tshisekedi, Kagame, Ruto as the designated responsible adult. Like actually, William Ruto is the responsible adult. And the deal, Congo and Rwanda to stop shooting American gold mines. Interesting, is it? Isn't it? M23 disarms. Maybe. It's a definite. And Trump post 9th war ended. Like he's just a guy who's just getting into leadership. Now, critics call it neocolonialism with extra steps. Supporters call it finally something did. Someone did something or something done. Violence is down 40% since June. It was 1000% before. So maths, we can do the maths on this. As Africans, our emotions are stirred. Our wealth, colonialism. What does it mean to be a colonial? A colony of an entity, a colony of a bee. What does imperial mean? What does imperialism mean? The dictionary definition. Imperialism means actual things as they are. 1 centimeter is 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters and 2 centimeters. We measure things according to the standards that we see and we can measure. Imperial is not about demagoguery. We see in England they have a queen. In Zimbabwe, we have paramount chiefs who have no say in whoever is coming into the land of Zimbabwe to be looking for land or maybe human resources or mineral resources in certain community areas where we have chiefs. They don't necessarily need to be doing the ambassadorship or the business part of it, but they are the owners, not some member of parliament or some minister. When we see ministers making themselves that what they're doing is un-Zimbabwean, it is disrespectful and it is treasonous. That is the lowest a life can be. Kupesuka in communities, in a nation. Musiri musango nyika ine madzimambo. Aruto states as jailers. Arushia like mama take the states. Aru as a kepi. Aru keep out like mama home. Like my jokes and don't take me serious. I have to say my jokes. I had to like mama home. Africa kepi. There's nothing wrong with that. Generally, we may perceive is like in Zimbabwe, people are like being decent. They don't like being ascent. They don't like ascending to the top. They like descending to the bottom. That's why they like decent things.
To the cool season. Yes, hello. How are you? Thank you.
Okay, so we're saying the ad out there. I don't like the guy at the commercial. The guy wearing that tie, Yekale Meruni. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about him. I see him making a commentary video on the situation. I don't know why he takes him there. He's a person who is not an intellectual. Maybe just a leader in their country, but I see him making a video. Speaking, thinking he can think. Not everybody can think. Because people are in positions, they may think they can. It is something else. Some people are critics. Some people make documentaries. Some people can analyze the situation. But just a mayor voted into office position or a mayor secretary may not know what is criticizing, what is political commentary, or they may know. So certain commentary, what it means and how it speaks to your people. We're seeing in our lifetime the ending of a war in DRC, and we know if America is there gonna tramba people, even here in Zimbabwe, ladies and gentlemen, already the Cold War happening in Zimbabwe is not even There's no proper Cold War. But it is violent in itself. It is violent. How does Trump manage to do it? We as Africans, we separate ourselves even in measuring our own progress. Are we developing nations or we're just stagnant? No nation building even. Third world. When we will become the second world, it doesn't take 40, 50 years. It's a moment. It can only happen when that happens.
And Rwanda as they sign a historic peace agreement brokered by President Trump. This comes after ministers of the two African
Brokered by the apprentice Donald Trump. Anore mamrumo vakomane kwa Africa nro amafutushop chichi nekungo wanika wa president ari kuma trade fair evakomane ma food packaging ne repackaging ne importing from South Africa and packaging. These guys, they're doing like when we're seeing Donald Trump now in the United States, it's like an Abraham Lincoln.
nations signed a preliminary peace agreement and economic pact at the White House back in June. Here to discuss is spokesperson for the government of Rwanda and official member of their delegation to the White House with the peace signing with President Trump, Yolanda.
Oh, I saw this lady already in the United States. Let's watch how she speaks as Africans.
Maklo. Yolanda, thank you so much for joining me today. How historic is this, and how did it all come together?
It's very important. This is the best chance for peace, for stability, and for prosperity that our two countries and the region has. It started because the DR Congo asked the U.S. government to mediate in this crisis.
Our two countries and the region has, when the DR Congo asked the South Africa to intermediate, it was a desperate situation. Whoever did the asking, respect to the person. I think it's Felix Tshisekedi. Felix Tshisekedi looks like he's a collected person, a person who has self-control.
And we're happy to be involved in any initiative that will bring a stop to the conflict that has affected this region for 30 years. And this is why we're here, and we've reached this point. It's important, and we look forward to tomorrow, and we're cautiously optimistic that it will.
So she's saying facts. I mean, for questions. Are we saying for 30 years we failed to have even 7 days where we sit straight up looking for solutions? We failed to find airtime for the guys who are fighting against each other to call each other and list their demands for 30 years. Yes. We are so used to war that we think war is grabbing the gun, the bullets, and partner, that's what we do, and we don't have a way you quit a peace. Returning to peace, even coming from Zimbabwe's independence struggle, where we see a ceasefire is in 1975, where we see Kagame negotiating the release of Josiah Tongogara. But they will tell us independence is 1980. 5 years on, after we see Henry Kissinger negotiating for the 1975 peace agreement.
Work out.
Now, a lot of our viewers probably are not familiar with the conflict between Rwanda and the Congo. How long has it been going on? Why hasn't it been solved by now? What?
Real concern. That is how we are viewed as Africans. We are monsters unto our own selves.
What's at root of the conflict, and how did President Trump see some sort of resolution? You said it's been about 30 years of conflict.
I mean, it's been 30 years, 31 years actually, since a genocide happened in Rwanda in 1994. And the people who committed genocide in Rwanda fled to the DR Congo. They're still holed up there. We have at least 12 commanders who now lead a militia known as the FDLR that is intent on finishing what they started in 1994. That is a security problem for Rwanda. Rwanda is about the size of, it's actually smaller than the state of Maryland. The DR Congo is...
And then she's jacked up. She gives reference as says it's smaller than the state of Maryland. Maryland in the United States of America, where they do agriculture and serious farming. Like those guys, they grow more maize than Africa combined. As in Zimbabwe, we don't have farmers. Anywhere where we see native Zimbabweans, we don't have that. In terms of businesses, we don't have commercial farmers. We don't have actual commercializing of anything. For us to be able to commercialization is when we create a product first. When we have a product, we do mass production. If it is a sellable, if it's a sellable product, that's what we call commercialization. Untenga kugona kurima zvepamba pako nekuzvifida kana ukaisa product first copy kana commercialize what it means to commercializing commercial farming. What is commercial farming? Who does commercial farming? Who does farming investment? How does it operate? How does it work? So in Zimbabwe we have an advantage. We can just still use the same settlers handbook raishandiswa ne British South African company when they were inviting people to come to settle. They were not selling them land. They were asking them to come and let's build a new country. Let's build an economy. That's what they do, those guys.
Four times the size of Texas. So this is an important security threat for us that we've been trying to prevent from crossing over to Rwanda in the last 31 years. This is the source of the problem. The Trump administration has come into this in the right way because they're focusing in the mediation on the real problems, on the real obstacles to peace, which is that security problem, the militias that are in Eastern Congo, because the conflict is in the...
She's talking of a security problem. There's no feelings or bias. And she mentions to call for generals, FLDR, who are out there.
DRC, not in Rwanda, but it's a threat to us. So there's all these forces that are fighting in the DRC, presenting a national security challenge for us on our border. The Trump administration is looking at this, at the root causes, at the political root of this conflict, and at the security imperative that both our countries.
The Trump administration is looking into this, and they look into it by actually looking at it. Like people have to brainstorm ideas and things like that. Think tanks. Me, I'm a think tank. I'm not in government, and I've never done such things like such. But we deal with any problem. But it doesn't make sense when we're dealing with things like that. In a nation, we bring in industrialists who can deliver first before we can support our own. That's what we do. So the Trump administration, they are the guys on the Pentagon, and CIA, CIB, up to Z, all those things.
Has. But in addition, what is different with the involvement and the sustained engagement of the Trump administration?
Sustained engagement, consistent. A friend in need is a friend indeed.
Is that they're also looking at the economic opportunity for Rwanda, for DRC, and investment from American companies. That's important to us.
Thank you very much for bringing that one. Economic. Whatever we do, it's economic. Ending the war is economic. The idea of being blinded because there is we all need money, we all want money. But because of head morality, slave morality, it's an actual tool of the devil where things are not up and not they are. They're doing this just because they want money. Yes, it's an opportunity for them to secure where they can mine, they can extract resources, a new place, and they are willing to create peace there. For 30 years, people have been there. They've never been a people born in a war. In 2025, and we are sitting here in Zimbabwe, but somebody has never been in a free nation. Right now, 4 December 2025, from the days we're hearing Panyamulenge, the Hutu and Tutsis, it's 1994-95, just before the All Africa Games. Chiwenga complex kupedza kuvakwa apa. Yanga iri chinzo the rhino thing is on the logo. I think around that same 94 is All Africa, 95 is the Olympics. And the Coca-Cola is the promotions, things like that. That's where I first see the Olympics logos, 5 rings, things like that. I'm already a conscious person then. Just hearing in my lifetime. And now seeing the movie Hotel Rwanda, what was happening. The Hutus and the Tutsis. Yes, things like that can happen. Here at my house, the lunatics, they stay at my gate shouting, wailing, like bow type of noise. So it's something that disturbs, especially when you are not aware what is happening. Not normal behavior is not normal behavior. Like those are animals which actually disrespect my house. Things like that. So they don't matter. It's just looking into their mindset, and they are no brains. They are sad people. Just because they are sad people, they feel entitled to be just brass. There is no word for it. I can't say nagging. I can't say taunting. It's evil. So such behavior, if it would get control anywhere, there would be genocides, ladies and gentlemen. Like here, at one point I'm asked to murder myself, to commit suicide. Which means already I am murdered. If I had committed suicide, then, so the mother of the fool would die the next month. Doing that. Like this is a high density area where I stay in a dysfunctional society and dysfunctional people who don't identify with anything. Maybe they identify with their culture, cow, or whatever they come from. But it's a reality. I wonder how many people they murdered and what they do every day. Of course, I'm not going to be calling Donald Trump. They can only, like a dog can only eat dog.
It's important to a lot of African countries to get good quality investment in the potential that there is in the region.
Investments.
In mining, in infrastructure, in energy. But we need peace and security first.
Well, that is a tactic that he's also deploying in the Middle East to solve
Even the United States lady, from Newsmax, is left speechless with the articulation of this lady speaking.
Conflicts there, an economic incentive as well. So what exactly will be signed or agreed upon tomorrow at the White House?
So tomorrow we will sign the Washington Accords between Rwanda and the DRC, and President Trump will witness that.
Can we compare this lady here to Tatenda Mawetera or the president of the Senate, maybe Uchinomona, any lady in ZANU-PF. In Zimbabwe, we like saying they are pretending. What pretending is. Anybody who pretends to be doing anything cannot speak with articulation like that. Only a loser, a dofu. They are not pretender shit. Pretenders who all about emotions, like sound effects, things like that. Herd morality, slave morality, and slave mentality actually.
The culmination of steps that we've been taking since we signed that preliminary agreement at the end of June. It's a really important step. It signals that the U.S. government continues to be engaged in this in the right way. And
the United States is now a hero again. Trump is a hero. Long live Trump. May God bless you. He's ended the war. The United States plays a part where we see Henry Kissinger coming in. Mugabe is mobilizing the guerrillas. They were not under ZANU-PF, they were not under ZANLA. He says, I will now call you ZANLA. And he asks for peace. Most of those guys were out of control pirates existing. The only general I know who was an actual general is Josiah Tongogara. Not Solomon Mchuru. Solomon Mchuru, I know. He made at least 82 people who were actually trained to fight for Zimbabwe in Zambia.
That they're keeping an eye on this, which is really important, and we hope they continue to keep engaged and accompany this process to the end.
Since the initial agreement came together in June, from June until we're now in the month of December, how have things been going between the two countries?
Some things have improved, but there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still ceasefire violations ongoing. These have to stop. There's and the DRC government has to do what they have promised to do. Mm-hmm. Dealing with this group that committed genocide in Rwanda, and then we will be able to relax our defensive measures that are on our border.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. We appreciate your insight, and this is a historic deal for the president as well as Rwanda and the two countries in Africa. So we really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
We are the people. We are the people. If we are the people, we should begin taking charge, or at least calling in those who can. The lady that was speaking there, we can't compare her to Tatenda Mawetera or maybe Ushinomona or any lady in ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe. Don't we have people? We're talking of governance here. I'm not talking of ordinary people. Of course, a person like Tatenda Mawetera becomes a minister because she did contest as a parliamentarian and she did win an election. And Mnangagwa has to select from people that are there in a nation where we don't have a proper government. Ministries are changed. A new cabinet is created. Back in the day, we would know there is continuity and stability in any ministry because there is a permanent secretary. Now I'm thinking, so maybe when they elect, then they employ a permanent secretary also. Meaning it's 2 ministers and ministries. They just random create a list. Ministry on social media, hashtag this is the new ministry. What is an essential cabinet in Zimbabwe? Do we even need ministries? Minister of Post and Telecommunication. There is no POSB. It's still there, but it's no longer in business. In other nations, how have they developed their post office? Our post office is not come yet. Post 25 is left in the past. Yesterday we did this ZANU-PF Politburo. The guys, they cannot meet without actually physically meeting. We see Malaba bouncing back into the limelight. Like Malaba. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Who is Malaba? Yes, there are some who have been waiting for him to retire, like the same way we wait for Zesa to come back. Full of hope, zero evidence, and 70 and plenty side eye. 2021, he turned 70, and the Constitution says happy birthday, now pack your wig. And Malaba responded by dropping amendment number 2 faster than a tout drops a charge. 5 extra years, just like that. We all loved and cried and then updated our passports. Now December 2025, Chief Justice has suddenly gone on leave pending retirement. On leave, yes. Like he has been on permanent vacation from the Constitution since 2017. But things start to get spicy. And here is where it begins to do that. Inside the sources in the Judicial Services Commission, yes, the same one who still owes us tea money from the last farewell party that never happened, say Malaba team is quietly shopping for another small extension. And the word on the street, they want to push him to 80. Now at this rate, we will retire. This man who may retire the same year maybe where Zimbabwe hosted the World Cup. And obviously that will be never. Now things start to get personal for the state house. Big question, is Malaba a direct threat to Emerson Mnangagwa's 30-20 plan? Is Malaba a threat to Emerson Mnangagwa's? These people are busy trying to smuggle close to 2030 through tomorrow's Central Committee like it is contraband SADC. Meanwhile, Malaba controls the very court that will decide if 2030 diesel is legal or just expensive noise. Already we're seeing new hashtags in Zimbabwe like hashtag and the end. Now if Malaba feels bitter about being pushed out early or worse, or if Chiwenga can promises him retire in peace. We reopen 2021 files. Guess whose side the government falls on. Now, one senior lawyer speaking from hiding or from anonymity, on condition of anonymity, because his chambers are next to CIO, tells me Malaba and ED are like an old married couple. They fight, they make up, but if one of them start dating the constitution again, divorce papers are coming. Advocate Tabani Pofu, Malaba's neighbor bestie, and an official Judicial Service Commission remote control, is the only lawyer in Zimbabwe who can make a judge cry in open court and still get invited for bribe on Sunday. If Malaba decides to fight for another 5 years, guess who will be leading the charge? The same guy who turned judicial complaint into a national sport. So, here is the scorecard right about now. ED wants 2030, needs a friendly constitutional court. Chiwenga wants 2028, needs Malaba gone yesterday. Malaba wants, well, whatever will keep him in the big chair with a big wig and Mpofu in the big house next door. My prediction, if Malaba goes quietly, ED breathes easy. If Malaba digs in suddenly, half the judges discover that term limits are actually a colonial relic. Next thing you know, 2030 becomes 2040 and we'll be singing happy 100th birthday, your honor, while queuing for sugar. The bottom line, this isn't about the old man and his live days. This is about who controls the referee when the biggest political measure of the decade kicks off.
From the Congo and Rwanda as they sign.
And are implemented with clear tactics on the way. The conference resolution and decisions of the Central Committee are implemented with clear tactics on the laid out timelines.
Now, the way we see ED speaking here, definitely is listening to TV7 Live.
I commend the party for organizing strategic workshop seminars for both the Central Committee and the Politburo to recalibrate leadership on their roles, duties, and obligations. These are against the background of a dynamic socio-economic and political environment. The seminars are also tending
He's talking about workshops to recalibrate. He says, bring them here to recalibrate me also. Usually, this may be a retraining program on whatever will be done if such consultancy services do exist. What is happening is something happening. Maybe they've imported some guys maybe from Western governments, or maybe they've just created some tenders where they're gonna be maybe gym and calling it recalibration. What it should mean. Anywhere where there is working, there should be a workaway ethic, which should be how a people operate. Whatever it is, be it in government, in politics, what are our goals? What is your role? What is the job description? What is that which you do? What do you deliver at this given period? Like we see institutions like banks, they give financial reports first quarter or first half of the year, last quarter, last half of the year. I only know of financial reports. I don't know what else they give out, but financial reports, they do give out. Now we're talking about liberation. Yes, it's a good approach. Anybody who is doing anything, it's a good approach, and that they're considering it. So yes, these guys are consolidating power, and there's ZANU-PF. They do whatever is good for them. We may criticize them, try to kill them, but what is also, but ZANU-PF, they wouldn't mind, because they're ZANU-PF. How do you deal with a situation like that? We need an approach. The same approach we see now happening in DRC, where we deal with the problem by actually dealing with it. We see job scale emerging in the United Kingdom.
It was online.
Rights of the European Union Parliament for inviting me to appear before you and make a presentation about my experience as one of those.
Before we listen, job seeker is a person who begins politics, who gets involved in politics from a students' union, from the University of Zimbabwe. He wouldn't finish his program then, he would finish it later, maybe after 10 years. He is a Zimbabwean. He was not born a leader. So he grows up in politics. I respect him for his patriotism. I respect him for his energy and all that he is doing. His personal resources. It's a life that is sacrificed. It's a life of sacrifice. I respect him for that. Maybe he's alone doing it. Whichever ways he's using. He's somebody who's emotional. Yes, he is passionate about it. I'm just mentioning I respect him for that.
Persons who have been beneficiaries of the activities of the Interparliamentary Union when I was being persecuted by the dictatorship and tyranny in Zimbabwe during the period when I was a member of parliament. The issue of human rights abuses that not only myself but several other political actors in Zimbabwe, including a number of members of parliament, is on public record on how many people have suffered on the hands of the regime in Harare. There are quite a number of many issues which role the Interparliamentary Union and other international bodies played in protection of those people who had been in occupation of public offices after having been elected to represent the people. It is very saddening to hear the report from the previous speaker that at the present moment there is a global a number of more than 1,000 public officials, including members of parliaments who are currently, whose cases are now being investigated by the Interparliamentary Union. It clearly demonstrates the level of persecution opposition members of parliaments are facing in their countries. The current government in my country has taken extensive measures to restrict political participation in Zimbabwe. Democratic advocates are facing significant challenges and the lack of safety and security. At the present, they are being subjected to considerable pressure and threats. My persecution by the regime in Harare is well documented. I have been arrested 70 times since I became a member of parliament in the year 2000. Yet, none of these arrests resulted in any conviction. I survived several assassination attempts, including a horrendous torture which I suffered in March 2003. During all these arrests, I would be tortured, battered, denied food, denied basic universal human rights, such as
70 times, arrested 70 times. And who perpetrates this? Who think they're able to do that? Like, who perpetrates that? And what happens? In them being that and doing that, they've already lost. Things can never go any other way.
Being such as to be visited by my family, friends and colleagues. Observer missions carried out by international important bodies, such as the Interparliamentary Union. During the period of my previous persecution and court trials attested to what I have gone through. The Interparliamentary Union showed ongoing support, not just when they sent an observer team led by Justice Abdul Raham Kani from Botswana to monitor the forced trial I faced during my lengthy pre-trial detention under Zimbabwe's current regime. They also strongly opposed the torture I suffered on the 3rd of March 2003. My picture is publicly displayed at the headquarters of the Interparliamentary Union in Geneva, describing in detail the torture I went through. I was in tears when I visited the IPU headquarters in May 2024. Soon after my release from persecution back home, when I visited the IPU Secretary General to see my pictures of torture being among many members of parliaments who have gone through similar trials and tribulations displayed at the headquarters.
Ça ressentait pas, mais l'émotion est en salle également. Prenez le temps qu'il vous.
Thank you very much. I can proceed, Mr. Chairman. Say. History should remember that many people worldwide.
What we are seeing here, These are not just stories. This is a real fight for liberation and a real fight for freedom. It is an appeal to the international community, to humanity. And I stand with Job Scala and everybody who is fighting for justice, for that which is right. By whatever methods we can.
Have endured and continue to face severe hardships.
He is still in the struggle there, alone. I'm not saying that there are others who are, others exist. I'm not talking about Panamatuku. They're not politicians. Those guys, they're lunatics. They cause confusion, man. They're evil people.
Their pursuit of democracy and freedom for their countries and communities. The Interparliamentary Union, particularly its Committee on Human Rights, has played an important role in advocating for and protecting the rights of parliamentarians who are members of opposition political organizations throughout the world. The committee continues to address instances of persecution by undemocratic regimes around the world. The European Union Parliament, specifically this subcommittee on human rights, should follow the commendable example set by the IPU, taking decisive action to address instances of severe human rights violations perpetrated by authoritarian regimes against individuals supporting democratic movements who are regarded as political offenders or political criminals. I think you recently heard how my house was bombed in Zimbabwe on the 30th of August this year, when I was launching my biography book, Footprints in the Chains, The Life Story of Job Scala in South Africa. My 4 children were occupants of my house, as my wife had gone to attend the memorial service of my late aunt in our rural home at the time of the attack. The attack's objective was to target my children for assassination. The attack, up to present, has not been investigated. Recently, the regime, through its agents, carried out an act of planting explosives in my uncle's car in South Africa, the car which I was a passenger, with the intention to incriminate me and to be seen as if I was involved in criminal activity, and also to portray myself as a dangerous opposition leader in Zimbabwe. I urge the respected members of this esteemed committee to carefully observe and keep track of this case in order to understand the extent to which Zimbabwe's dictatorship is willing to go to suppress its opposition in an effort to continue holding on to power. I would like once again to urge this important committee to institute a European parliamentary delegation to visit Zimbabwe and raise these concerns with the authorities in Harare. I also urge this committee and also the European Parliament to urge the European Union ambassadors to Zimbabwe to raise issues of human rights abuses that are persistently and continuously taking place in Zimbabwe. An important European parliamentary delegation visit to Zimbabwe will open up the international community about the human rights abuses both parliamentarians from the opposition political parties and also opposition political actors are facing in our country. This will go a long way in addressing this challenge of continued human rights abuses in my country. With these words, I would like again to express my profound gratitude for your invitation for me to appear before this esteemed committee. I thank you, honorable members of parliament.
Merci à vous de l'avoir fait.
Thank you very much for doing that with so much precision. And I understand it's a very emotional issue. I'm not sure if you managed to hear me, but I...
Respect to Job Scholar for that. And to these European Union guys, do my colonizer. My colonizer ndo ati nawe izvineizvi. Maluta. Ini zvakuda mari dzetex. Yei, atomwe dzetex ndeyei. Avanenge ari yeminista wacho. Ngatex yaumba kwake unguita minister umba kwake. The commitment they take, these guys doing that and what they're doing, they're fighting wars, these guys. We do what we do. Eventually, it is not through our doing that victory comes. Our victory it is already. The ZANU-PF guys, they cannot maneuver any funny tricks. They are not able to do that. They don't have any skill on anything. Yes, sir. They could murder because murdering is just murdering. That cannot continue happening. Dr. Clarence, I'm out.